Manga versus anime. Animes are based off of mangas, which are created by the writers, or as we call them, the mangakas. These cover, basically every single one of your favorite series. Now, I definitely have a bit of a bias on the subject. I started reading manga before I ever really watched anime. I had seen a few like anime episodes and even some full short animes when I was younger, but I picked up my first manga when I was 13, and that was Naruto. I was in Barnes and Noble with my dad, and he was, perusing around, browsing to look at books, and I was kind of bored, so I just sat down in a chair, and it just so happened to be in the manga section. And I was looking at the books in front of me, and I grabbed Naruto because I recognized it, and I started reading the manga. They had these 3-volume books, these big fat books, and I read a whole 3 volumes sitting there for like 45 minutes. I read a whole 3 volumes, and I was like, I got $30 in my pocket. I'm buying 3 of these things. And then I was just hooked on it. I bought more mangas, more volumes of Naruto. I started reading some One Piece as well. This is all for me to say that I was in the manga before anime. I started watching One Piece after that, and then along the way I just started watching all these different animes. I know one of the first short ones I watched was Gurren Lagann, which is just a timeless classic. I think it's one of the best animes ever made. Most people just start with anime, and they never really touch manga, and I think that's such a big mistake because manga is what's created by the mangaka. That is exactly what the creator of the series wants you to see. Animes are usually made as one-to-one adaptions, pretty much frame by frame. But, sometimes they deviate, they add a little extra, or they take little things out. And when you read a manga and then watch an anime of it, you really start to notice these things. And a lot of it is just in execution. In my opinion, mangas are usually just much cleaner in execution. But sometimes animes do it better. But for me, I've really only found that in exceptional animes. A good example is Jujutsu Kaisen, an exceptionally made anime. In the Sukuna Mahagara fight, in the manga, that's very short. It's awesome still, but it's I think 1-2 chapters. It's very quick and brief, but in the anime, they include all of those things that were in the manga. They didn't cut any part of it out, but they added all these extra action scenes to make a full episode. And I think it was either nominated or won the best episode of the best manga episode of the year, which I would definitely say it deserved. It was pretty incredible and just an awesome watch. I've watched that episode alone 5 times. Point being is that yes, anime can do it better than manga. But even for Jujutsu Kaisen, which is really well made, I earlier in the Shibuya incident, spoilers ahead, in the Itadori versus Chozo fight, as we know, at the end of it, Chozo wins. Itadori gets absolutely obliterated, and it's it's a rough ending to the fight. And maybe it's because I read the manga first, I could just have a bias. But I really liked how the manga executed the end of the fight a lot more than how the anime did it. And I think part of it is just how you interact with the manga. With an anime, you're just sitting there and watching it, whereas with a manga, you're turning the pages. And that definitely has an effect on it. This term, the most brutal page flip ever, has been coined by many people to describe that, and Itadori versus Chozo is a good example of that, where you're reading this, and it's you're swiping, and it's oh my god, Itadori's really getting impressed here, but it looks like he's going to win. He's coming back. He's still running with this. He's starting to piece him up and everything, you know, and then you turn the page and it's just like fucking boom, you know. His fucking shoulder is gone. And I will say, in the manga, it's a much more brutal image of what Chozo does to Itadori when he hits him on the shoulder compared to the anime. Like, in the anime, it's like, you know, he kind of puts a little dent in him and there's some blood shooting out. Like, in the manga, Itadori's shoulder is fucking gone. It's a lot more gory and wild. And, like, I like how that's done in the manga a lot better. So that's just an example for an exceptional anime, very well done anime. For a better example of, you know, when the manga just outright does it better is Black Clover. I read all of Black Clover, and I really have to say I loved it. I thought that it was going to be, I don't know, kind of mid, I guess. I love the manga, and I went over to the anime. I just wanted something to tune on, and I really loved the manga. I wanted to see how it looked in the anime, and boy was I disappointed. You know, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about, you know, making a weekly anime. I'm not trying to bash the studio at all. You know, it's a very stressful process for a mangaka to make the manga. For a studio to make an anime it's much more work. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and bash them at all. But compared to the manga, oh man, the anime is just not very well executed, whereas the manga was very well done. You know, if you're a fan of the Black Clover anime, please go read the manga if you haven't. It is like night and day. Like with that, all the fights, the animation, it's just a step down. You know, the action is better choreographed in the manga. The art is very well done in the manga. It kind of falls apart when people don't take the time to make an anime feel alive. And again, not trying to bash the studio, okay? Another big part of the reason why I say you should really read manga if you don't is because if you want to take on a new big series, I'd say manga is 100% the way to go, because who wants to sit there and watch like 700 episodes or something? You know what I mean? Just to try it out. I know that's most people's hold up with One Piece. It's like, what, am I going to sit down and watch 1,000 episodes of this? Like, get out of here. I'm not doing that. Lots of popular shows that are long running, they suffer from this. Naruto, Bleach, Dragon Ball, even to an extent, you know, these are series that have hundreds of episodes, and it's like, if to sit there and watch all of them, my God, it's a lot. It's a lot, okay? Like Black Clover, same thing. You know what I did is, like, Black Clover, I read it. Bleach, I read it, you know. With Bleach, I actually tried to start watching the anime, but I just couldn't really get into it. You know, there's certainly a thing with most animes and mangas where it takes about, you know, I'd say like 30 chapters to really get you into it. That's what I found. Like, with Naruto is a little exceptional in that. I feel like you get, I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't even say Naruto stands out. I think it has a very good first chapter, but it's like after the first arc is complete, that's when you really get into it, you know. In One Piece, it's not until you get to the end of the Arlong arc that you're really invested in it, you know. For Black Clover, I forget exactly what it was, but it's the same thing. It's like 30 chapters, and most manga that I read are just like that. Except when you watch an anime, now you're not talking about, you know, 30 chapters. You're talking about like 10 episodes, which is 200 minutes. In other words, for these long-running series, and most series that are based off of mangas, shorter series in general do better with this because they're much more to the point. They have a smaller story to tell. But I find the stories that are, hundreds of chapters, or say, more than 24 episodes pretty much, it's a little harder. It can take a little longer to get into it. And my thing is, I can sit there and in 45 minutes I can read a good chunk of chapters of a series and see if I'm going to get into it. And I usually do, because for a series to become popular in the first place, it's because it's good. And sometimes it just, you got to get your toes wet. You got to get in there. It's not going to get you in one chapter. You got to expose yourself a bit to it. And I find that to be much easier to do with manga than with anime. If you're not fully invested in a show or a movie that you're watching, it's very easy to just not pay attention to it. With a manga or a comic, you have to be reading it. Same thing with a book. Nothing's gonna happen for you. You have to pay attention to it. It's not just gonna keep reading for you if you don't look at the screen or the book or you have to read it. So it goes a lot quicker reading it, but it's also just easier to get into it because you're paying much more attention to it in every little detail. And another thing I would say in general with manga is that it's much easier to hone in on the important details. Whereas with an anime, there's a lot more being thrown at you. And again, it's easy to look away from the screen, especially if you're watching a sub. I mean, God forbid you look down to even take a bite of your food. You've completely lost the plot by the time you look up. But with a manga, every panel is carefully chosen. They have page limits, and they have to get, certain things across in these page limits. And they're trying to tell their story 1 week at a time. So if there's something important, they are going to make a point of it. Whether it's subtle or not, it's going to be there. And it's a lot easier to notice the subtleties of their storytelling when it's done through the manga, because there's just not as much stuff to be captivating. There's less things to hone in on because we just have 2D pictures. Another thing I would say is that reading manga is pretty cheap, actually. Don't get me wrong, you can definitely pirate anime, and there's plenty of YouTube videos that have been made about that. My personal opinion is you should support the creator of the series, the studio that makes the anime, by actually officially consuming it. I get it kind of if you're broke. I don't think pirating inherently is a bad thing, but if you actually care about something, you should try and support it through official channels, because that's how the people who make it get to keep making it. If it doesn't make money because everybody pirates it, guess what? They don't make it anymore, and that sucks sometimes, because there are absolutely plenty of things that have been shut down because it was getting over-pirated, I should say. Anyway, like, manga, they have, this isn't an ad for them at all, but the Shonen Jump app, it costs I think $3 a month or something like that. It's mad cheap, and you get so much content for it, and you get to officially support them. I think it's a good way to go. I would just save the money on the Crunchyroll subscription. As big of a fan as I am of anime, the amount of anime I watch, I don't even keep an active Crunchyroll subscription. I activate it maybe once or twice a year to watch some stuff, and then I turn it off. I don't have it on right now. When season 3 of JJK is done, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to watch JJK. I'm probably going to watch the second season of Frieren. Maybe some Dr. Stone. I'll see what else is on there. And then I'm going to shut it off because I don't need it anymore. Save some money on it. And I would certainly say, too, that other streaming platforms, at least I should say the ones that are more normal here in America, say Netflix, Hulu, Max, Amazon Prime, even Disney Plus, like a lot of them they're putting a lot more anime on there, which I think is a great thing because it just means more money going into the industry at the end of the day. But I like Crunchyroll still gets the preference. You know, they're kind of like Xbox getting Call of Duty first, or I guess it's really PlayStation now. The hunk is showing shit. um, it's kind of like that still, but most of the shows that are really popular that are on Crunchyroll, you can find them on other subscription services that you probably already have, and they're just, missing like the latest season or something. It takes, maybe a couple months or a year after that season comes out for it to, be put on there. But then, like One Piece, obviously very engrossed with Netflix. They're starting to release the new episodes. They don't have the entire catalog on there, but they have most of it. And now the new episodes of Elbaf are going on there, which is cool. Like I'm saying, cancel this. Don't cancel. Here I am talking about supporting. Telling you to cancel your Crunchyroll subscription. My point is, like, if you're trying to save the money on a budget, like you're trying not to spend that money and you would usually pirate things, like reading manga through the official app and everything else, like that's a great and cheap way to support them, and I think you get a very good experience out of it, and I think it just gives you a lot of benefits. To sum this whole video up, my favorite things about manga are the fact that it takes much less time to read. You get exactly what the creator was giving you. You get to actually support the manga that the anime is based off of. And that makes sure that the manga keeps going. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening in. I'm gonna see, if I even make this a YouTube video. I don't know, maybe I'll do more things like this. I was just making this while I was driving. I just popped an AirPod in and started talking. Maybe I'll do this more often. I'll see how it works out. I kind of had fun trying to edit a video not too long ago, but I lost all of my microphone audio from it, so I couldn't really make a video. But it was fun to edit. But yeah, anyway, if you like this, I guess leave a like. It would help me out. It would just be nice to see, I guess. All right, thank you guys. Later. Peace.